Hello and welcome to Sunday Run Day, the podcast. This week, I'm super excited and very lucky to have someone that I've met through my gym on the podcast. Now, David's story is amazing, and he's actually going to talk to us a little bit about that transition from road running to trail running. He's someone that has achieved so much during his road running, but also achieved so much during trail running. He's not only gone and been able to do Boston Marathon, but he's actually gone out there and done 100 milers, 100-kilometer runs in some of the most breathtaking places in the world. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. And yeah, I can't wait for him to share his story with you guys. So welcome to Sunday Run Day, the podcast, David. It's a real pleasure to have you on here. As I've been speaking to you and knowing you from the last 2 years, you've obviously made that transition from road running into trail running. So I normally ask the people the question of like, why did you first start running? But I kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit with you and ask you, why did you kind of go from the road running into trail running?
Yeah, thanks, Clint, and thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure to chat to you about running. And yeah, look, I'm middle aged now, I would say, and I've done a lot of road running over my time, and um, I would say that I didn't really switch to trail running per se until I'm going to say 5 years ago, but the seed was planted a little earlier for me. I'm going back about 10 years now, and I was living in Canada, and I was part of this great. We're living in the middle of Canada. It was really I'm going to say for Australian a really hostile sort of environment weather-wise. So winter was minus 30 degrees on average. It was in a place called Saskatoon, a little city of about 300,000 people, but it had this amazing running community there, and I got caught up with some guys and girls, and it was a marathoner who was going for the Olympics with the Canadian team, and he just missed out due to injury. But he was a really competitive guy, and his name was Jason, and we're part of this running group. And as part of that, we went to. I was focused on marathons, road marathons, and doing getting better with that. But through our travels and with that group, we went into a couple of events, and one of them, I was with my wife and family on a yoga retreat in Vancouver, in Whistler, BC, British Columbia. And we weren't there for running. We were there to do this yoga retreat, which was amazing in itself in this beautiful part of the world. And it so happened on the same weekend, there was this trail running series at the top of Whistler Blackcomb, which is the ski hill there. And I said, oh, gee, that sounds really interesting. No, I wanted to do some training while I was here, so I'll go into that. So I entered into it. It was only a 5K thing, I think, but you caught the chairlift up to the top of the hill, which I know in hindsight is interesting for trail running, because you usually, it seems to me, more often than not, you're running up the hill. But anyway, you caught this chairlift up to near the top of Whistler Blackcomb, and that's where it started. And it was just this eye-opening, amazing thing where we set off, and I had this roadrunners mentality of, okay, I can crush out 4-minute Ks on this thing, and it's all going to go smoothly. I'll just run as hard as I can for 5K. But I soon found out that trail running is not that, and we're immediately into some pretty steep incline. But it was the thing which caught me was just running in this incredible environment. I mean, Whistler Blackcomb in summer, the environment was just stunning, and then you ended down this incredibly steep descent, but just freewheeling down this descent, out of control, just like a kid, just with joy running down this hill. And it didn't do particularly well in the run. It wasn't about that. It was just about being outdoors and having fun. But that was sort of where it started, and that lay dormant for, I'm going to say, 3 or 4 years until I came back to Australia, and then a couple more sort of triggers got me into it, and one of them was a mate at work. He was an ultra runner, and he was into mad things, right? All the he was into 100 milers, and he travelled overseas for all these 100 milers, and the more gnarly that they were, the better for him. And he invited me into one. I was like, "Don't be silly! I can't do 100 k's," even though marathon was my thing. So I went into this 100k, and it completely destroyed me. I was wrecked. But it was a 100k trail run, and by the end of it, I said, "My body's not up for that. I can never. That's just not my thing." That was, it was okay, but it wasn't my thing. But they were probably the two triggers that eventually whet my appetite to sort of dive into it a bit deeper. And the first one was a lot of fun. The second one was painful, but it was enough. It just whet my appetite, and then eventually a few other things uh, pointed towards that being perhaps the future rather than the road running at the time.
Oh, that's amazing. And then, yeah, what an amazing story. Like, I love the fact that, as you say, you kind of were like, I'm here in Vancouver, in Whistler, beautiful area of the world. Why not just go and do this sort of trail run? And yeah, having that mentality of like, well, I'm a road runner. I can just go for it and I'll see what happens. And realizing pretty quick that, yeah, it's not quite the same with trail running. And, I've only, for me as well, I'm very, new in trail running. With the volcano event that we done recently, me and Clara, was kind of really our first real trail run. We kind of done Petra, and it was kind of half marathon trail, but it was a lot of road in that as well. So yeah, we're kind of opening up to the trail running world, and I'm starting to see a lot more of what it is and what's really involved in it. And it's an amazing place and some amazing achievements. And just to say that your second trail run was to do 100k is just, yeah, phenomenal. Like, you think to yourself, yeah, we do marathons, and marathons are a great distance that we really push ourselves and enjoy. But to go out there and do 100 k's on a trail is, yeah, is amazing. And yeah, something that my hat's off to you for sure, because that's impressive.
Well, I was listening to your volcano debrief podcast, and some of that came out, right. The elevation in that, and how to deal with that uphill section versus a normal road marathon. So, yeah, but it's fun.
Definitely. As you say, it's kind of with that trail run, and you learn pretty quick within the run of that you have to take it very different to what the road marathon is. Yeah, for me, as I say, in the volcano, there's a few areas where it was on the road and I felt like I could open my legs a little bit. But then to try and understand when you can, you have to really, yeah, the environment really sort of tells you how to run. So yeah, that's incredible. So obviously with the trail running now, he's still doing quite a lot of trail running and everything. What sort of advice would you sort of give people that would be looking for going from that road marathons into the trail running marathons or even the ultras?
Mm. Um, well, there's so many different distances, right? It's a bit like the road with the 5, 10, 21, 42. And every one of those presents slightly different challenges. And I think I'm by no means an expert, and I'm still learning. And so far as in like in that 100k distance, there's so many because that might take you anywhere from 12 hours to 20 hours, depending on elevation, what happens during the race, your nutrition, and so forth. Um, and so I definitely in that first phase took my experience from the marathons and the road into it, and so I was just playing with gels and probably just gels and water for nutrition, and I soon worked out
Yeah.
and still working out the things that really make a difference. And um, for instance, in that first 100k, my lovely wife Jackie, and she's an amazing cook. I don't think we went to Lee's, didn't we, for some for a birthday party with some food. But Jack's an amazing cook, and so she and a part of those ultra trail runs is it's a really community based thing, and so you're not just doing it yourself. In fact, often my family, Jackie and Lillian Harrison, will come along, and whether they're running it and doing a different distance or the same distance, or whether they're following around in a car and meeting me at checkpoints, it becomes a really collective experience. And so Jackie would often in the first one I remember, and my mates would joke and said it's Jackie's Cafe de Wheels because she was like this traveling restaurant with me, and I'd pull into the aid stations or to the checkpoints, and my mates, because we did it into team of four this first one, and they'd be on their gels and different things, and Jackie would show up with all these beautiful vegan rice balls and all this amazing food. So I was feasting on the run, and so nutrition was A plus. But I think as I've learnt more about it, it's you can calorie count and carb count in terms of how many carbs you need each hour and so forth. But from that to salts on a hot day and cramping and avoiding cramping, to your electrolytes, to what you need in that first 5 or 6 hours, to what you need in the back end when maybe it's a 12-hour plus 14-hour plus day, and you're getting into nighttime. And then, what I've found is that sugar, caffeine, all those things, you'll see people gulping down Coca-Cola. And at first I thought, because I'm not a big Coca-Cola drinker normally, but I thought, this is crazy. What are they doing? That can't be the best fuel for you. But actually, it makes a hell of a difference. And so I've found myself now at aid stations at the back end of some of these ultras, craving for that, and the boost that it gives you to really kick on and break through some of those barriers. Because my experience with the road marathon, you hit that 30, 32K sort of number, and if you haven't handled things right, if you've pushed too hard, whatever, you hit the wall, and you might really find it tough to bring that back. But the ultras and the trail running, when you really get into those bigger distances, actually it's probably pretty normal you're going to experience that. And with the right nutrition and then managing yourself, you can actually come back and still come back strong and finish really well. And you might even go through a few cycles of that. So for me, just sort of discovering and playing with that, and learning that it's okay and it's not the end of the world. And actually, it's as much about that experience and that journey to get to the end that makes it really worthwhile. That's sort of the fun of it. And you soon, at least for me, my experience has been, I've lost worrying about the time or wanting to beat a particular time. It really is, for me, it's really become just a battle of, I don't know, of what the body's capable of with what you've prepared for. And with because it's almost like every course is unique. And I think my experience compared to the road marathon, the ability for it to be more unique is more, because because you got mountains and rivers to cross and elevation and different things. So yeah, that's probably what I'd say.
No, yeah, that's awesome. And I think, as you say, it's kind of, understanding your body is the best thing for sure. Like when we even through the road marathons, now is kind of understanding the moment of, how you feel, get to yourself to when you hit the wall, or if you're not going to hit the wall, that you still feel that you can push on, or you hit the wall later on in the race that you're like, well, I'm ahead of where I wanted to be. The last few Ks might be a challenge, but I get there. But as you say, when it then comes to the ultras and the trail running, it's a long day. You're not out there just looking to do a sub 3 hour marathon or sub 4 hour marathon or something like that. You know that it's going to be a long time. You know that you're going to have your ups and downs, and to have the support as well. I think that's a really good key. I think it's amazing like you mentioned about the community, is something that I've seen quite a lot when I've looked into trail running and looked into, you know, these events that they do around the world. And the community, as you said, those aid stations, having these sort of cookouts, and people saying that they turn up to the aid stations and you're having, you know, a 3 course meal as you're going through, and you know, having that support there on those people. I think it's amazing, and it's something that, yeah, really definitely, you know, ignites something in a lot of people when they look at that and think like, you know, yeah, I'd like to give it a go sometime. You know, maybe it might not be something that I venture in as a lot, but definitely something I'd like to give it a go. And I know Clara is very keen on doing some trail runs as well, and doing an ultra eventually. So I think that would be pretty good. And as you say, learning about the difference from what it is from a road marathon to an ultra marathon is definitely a key. So talking about obviously the events as well, and you've got, you know, you've done multiple road events, multiple trail events. And it's a very difficult question, probably not one that's easy to answer. But what would you say has been the event that kind of stays in your mind as being like, that was my best event? Like whether it was just for the scenery, whether it was the run itself, or just in general, was the one I enjoyed the most.
Oh yeah, that's a hard one. Trail or road?
Well, let's go with road and trail. What was your best road or your most enjoyable road, and then trail as well?
Yeah. I, we My second marathon was in the States, in a out of Portland, Oregon, in a place called Suave Island, and that was while I was living in Canada, and I trained up for it, and the aim was to qualify for Boston, and I needed 3:15 was the qualifier time, but as you know, you've got to come in a bit under that to make it. And I had a mate who I've run with. His name's Joe, and we lived in Singapore. Our families both lived in Singapore together, and we spent every year we sort of did a marathon together. And no matter where we we're living, we'd come together and do a marathon, and we'd look forward to it for a year ahead. The whole family had come. It'd be and there's kids everywhere, and it was chaos, but it was really beautiful, a tradition we had. And we've both now gone to trail running and ultra running, and we still do it together, which is just a beautiful part of the journey together. But Joe and his family flew over. We went to Portland, Oregon, ran this road marathon. It was just a small one, but it was a Boston qualifier, and it was just a beautiful day. Like, it was summer in. Actually, it was July 4th, because there was a big, American. That's a big day for the Americans, right? The 4th of July, and so they had all this American stuff. It was just beautiful, and to be a part of that. And yeah, I ran a PB. I ran 3:07 at the time, and that was plenty to get me into Boston. So I got my BQ there, and it was just a buzz, like a great family experience. And the kids came out and ran the last little bit with me, and yeah, those marathons, and everything seems to click. They're rare, but everything clicks, and that was one of them where you actually look back and you go, you know what? I reckon I had a little bit more there. I could have possibly got, but to get the goal and to run it perfectly, and not break, was really cool. So that's definitely my favourite road one. And then I would say last year I had a go at Ultra Trail Kosciuszko in New South Wales, in the snowy mountains there, and I entered into the 100k, which was 107k, I think. It was called 100k, 107, and they didn't go to plan. In fact, the day went terribly from a running a running perspective. But I still look back on that, and it's my most enjoyable anyway, despite the DNF. I pulled out at 90. I think it was the last aid station was 94 or 97. Yeah, I was about 10k from the finish, and I pulled out there. And I regret that now in hindsight. But the like, to be running in that. I remember this part of the course. You'd gone to the top of Mount Kosciuszko, highest point in Australia, and then you came down it and traversed across to these other peaks. And there was a moment in there. There's not too many people around you, because it's less crowded. But I think we're about 40k in, so it's less crowded, and the field is spread out. And you're on this trail, up in the most elevated part of Australia, and it was like you're on the moon, like you're in this landscape, and it's a pinch yourself moment, and you're running up there, and you're just free as a bird, right? Just running in these. I'm sure like the volcano run you just did, and the memory of that. So, firstly, the location was just incredible. Then there was a few ups and downs in terms of the whole race, but I had a really tough moment coming into the 60k aid station. It bucketed down with rain, and I got myself really hypothermic. And so I got to this aid station, and my wife and daughter were there, and I just found I was shivering and freezing. And my mentality through an aid station's always been get in quick, grab something, get out the door because you can save time. And I learnt in this race, you know what? If you take an extra 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. You're out there for 14, 15, 16, 20 hours anyway. 15 minutes is not going to hurt you. So, and actually, I would have been at that aid station, I'm thinking 20, 30 minutes to get myself warm enough. I changed all my clothes. The girls got me some hot soup, refueled. But I was saying at that point, look, I think I'm done here. I'm too cold. I can't go back out there because it was pouring rain. It was freezing. And my mate Joe came through. He'd been behind me. He came through and he was in tip top shape. And he was like flying. I said, mate, keep going. You got this, crushing it. And he charged on. He went really well. But my journey on that day was not. It was not good. But 20, 30 minutes later, I was warm enough. I was able to face into it again. I had all my warm gear on, and I headed out. And that next section of 20 odd k was running down this muddy hill back into the Thredbo township. And again, it was just that freedom like a teenager of running in this beautiful location. It's pouring rain. It's muddy. You're going down this incredible trail. And you're a moment away from slipping over and falling on your bum, but just unbelievable. So yeah, it's unfinished business. Kosciuszko, I'm going back this year because I've got 10 more Ks to do, so I've got to do it again. But the learnings from that one, I mean, I'm sure there'll be more learnings again this year because that's the guarantee is every one of these 100Ks, it feels like there's more learnings again. So. Yeah, but that's definitely that's the favourite probably for those different reasons, I think, Clint.
That is amazing, David. And yeah, I really remember it last year when you were taking on the challenge, and Jackie was giving us updates and let us know how you're getting on, and we were tracking you on the app and seeing how you're doing, and just thinking, oh, he's got this. And to be fair, like even though you might not have finished and you might have pulled out, to get to 94, 97 kilometers, especially in the weather, the conditions out there were definitely not good conditions for trail running as much as a little bit was nice, but then the rain come in, and yeah, for sure it was a challenging run just with the conditions. Not forgetting the 100k on top of it. So for one, I take my hat off to you. I think it's an amazing effort, and it's great you got that unfinished business. I like that as well with some of the runs that we've done, and something's happened on the run, and we have that little bit of unfinished business, and to go back and to go, I'm going to do it this time. I've learned stuff from that, and as you say, go for that aid station, taking that bit extra time, done you the world good at that moment, and warmed up, and on we go, and see what happens. And yes, I think it's an amazing effort, and the fact he's still wanting to go out there and do it is incredible. Like hats off to David. I think it's amazing, and I'm super proud of the things you're doing because I think it's such a good running journey from coming from road marathons and doing those road races, and getting into Boston qualifying, doing Boston is such an amazing thing on its own, and then getting into the trail runs and doing the ultras and doing the 100Ks. And I think out of all of that, the one thing I took the most was I love the fact that you and your friend Joe, like every year you meet up for a marathon, whatever it is, like wherever in the world you both live, you meet up. I think that's such a special thing. And I think that's what I love about running. I love the fact that it really unites us and, really brings that community together. So, yeah, I think that is amazing. It's such a cool thing. And yeah, I love to hear more about it. And I certainly look forward to hearing you doing Kosciuszko this year.
I'm going to have to give strict instructions to Jackie. Do not let me pull out because the thing is the next day we're driving out and there are people still out there like that, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. There were people that'll walk the whole course, and so
Yeah.
if you yeah, so I'm beating myself up about last year because really it's what you could do is just go and sit down, just take an hour, go and have a sleep, come back to it. It's not about the time, and there's some amazing people. I remember when we were in the lineup for check-in, there was this fellow. I think he was 80 years old. He was a senior citizen, and he was so up and about. He was so excited, and he was entering the 50K the next day, and he just loved it. It was all about, it's not about time for him. And I know everyone's journey is different, right? And when those leaders, those fast runners go by, I mean, you just look at them in awe, of course. But I think that's the fun thing about running. Everyone's journeys and goals are a little different, and yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, definitely. And I think it as well is I've always said is, you look at it as you see the front runners coming through, we're in awe of them because, it's incredible that they can go out that fast and they can do whatever distance it is, whether it's road or trail. But I think as well, those front runners look at us and they look at the people that even, the other people, that 80-year-old guy that's going out there doing a 50. And we're in awe of those people as well because to be out there on a course for, 12, 13, 20 hours, whatever it might be, that's just impressive by itself. And I think, yeah, there is a lot of times where we have those runs for time, like myself, I'm trying to get into Boston. I'm working on that time and I want to go faster. But then you also know that it's not always about that. You get to a stage in your life, you start really enjoying the runs and you're enjoying what you're doing. And trail running, I think, always has that. It's definitely not about the time, it's about the finish. You want to get there and finish and you want to enjoy it as well. And most of these places that do these trail runs are just spectacular places. And as you say, the views on the runs, you get those moments where, by yourself, no one around, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is why I do this.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, Clint. I mean, that's the beauty of running, isn't it? From being younger and going for the great times and through to whatever. I think it's a beautiful sport.
No, definitely. Oh, well, David, thank you so much for sharing everything with me. Like, you've shared such a great insight into trail running and obviously going from road running to trail running and everything you've done. I'm super impressed by it. And yeah, really thank you for taking the time out to share your story with me. And I've really enjoyed listening to it.
Good on you, Clint. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, love your podcast, and yeah, I look forward to hearing about Sunshine Coast Marathon in the next couple of weeks.
No, awesome. I'll definitely keep you updated. No, thank you very much, David, for taking the time out to join me on the podcast this week. It's been such a great insight to hear from someone that has done a lot of road running and done road marathons, got to qualify for Boston and run in Boston as well is amazing. But then also made that transition into trail running and done 100 milers, done 100Ks. It's just amazing to hear. I love to hear that about that transition. I say for me, I'm very new into trail running. I've only really done a couple, as I mentioned, and the volcano one very recently. I definitely learned a lot from that. And to hear someone else's insights of that they're always learning and learning about nutrition and learning about how to tackle the course of whatever it might be and the conditions out there as well. It's really cool. It's something that definitely has sparked my interest with trail running and the community around that as well. I think is amazing. As David mentioned, being in there of the aid stations and having this community and having a cookout there, having Jackie, making all these vegan treats for people. I think that's just awesome. And, as part of the community and part of what brings us runners together. So again, thanks, David, very much for sharing the story. I've been lucky enough to learn a bit of his journey, a little bit more, but also be a part of it, of, sharing those experiences with us. So that's amazing. As I mentioned on Instagram, I put a post earlier on about a couple of events this weekend. We actually have the Media Marathon de Bogota. So back where Clara's parents live, they're carrying out the Media Marathon in there at the moment. And we do know a couple of people, so I wish everyone the best of luck. Actually, Clara's parents' neighbor, he keeps to do this event every year. So without fail, he does the Media Marathon de Bogota, so the half marathon, and that is amazing to hear someone that loves an event and goes every year and does it. So yeah, we've got that this weekend, and also got the San Francisco Marathon. Now Simon, who I featured on the podcast early on, he's actually over there in San Francisco tackling on the marathon, and I wish him the best of luck. I did sneak peek on the elevation, and I did see the course. Looks like a lot of hills on there, so definitely enjoy it, Simon. We wish you the best of luck, and everyone else that's carrying out the marathons. But as always, until next time, happy running.